Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for your patience. We were dealing with some tech issues. Google wanted to trump, Zoom, but here we are. We're all good. So today we have an amazing special guest on Entrennial Talks. I am Anastasia Button, the founder of Entrennial University and the author of the book, #New Job, New Life. Here at Entrennial Talks, we provide the information you need to help escalate your business purpose so that you can make a huge impact on the world as a growing leader. So we are just going to dive on in because I am so excited to get to the content of this interview. A little bit. Get little fishies on here next time. So this is going to be a lot of fun. I've known Kevin for about 2 years now, and I've known of Kevin for about 2.5 years, and he's just a phenomenal person. So I'm going to read you a little bit of his bio, and then we're just going to dive into the awesome stuff that Kevin's going to bring us today. So Kevin is an international speaker. He's an author, a trainer, and executive coach whose clients include individuals and small, medium, and Fortune 500 companies. He's an in-demand leading authority on social selling, relationship marketing, LinkedIn, and Twitter with a healthy dose of inspiration, humor, and transformational insight. And he's just going to be a lot of fun, guys. As you can tell, he's having a great time with this video cast. Let us know if you're having fun with him already. He is also the author of a few amazing books, one being The Social Selling Sales Revolution, The New Rules for Finding Customers, Building Relationships, and Closing More Sales Through Online Networking. And man, this page just keeps going on about how amazing you are, Kevin. But the one thing I really wanted to point out here, and which I think we're going to be talking quite a bit about today, is that you have the most individually handwritten client recommendations, which is over 1,925 recommendations on your LinkedIn profile among over 500 million LinkedIn users worldwide, which I was kind of surprised about that number. I was like, we're at 500 million already. And you've also been married to a wonderful woman who I have met for 23 years. You met her when she was booking her own piano player, and you were supposed to be that piano guy when she was going to get married to another man. So we might have to bring that up.
Gosh, oh my gosh. Well, those 1,900 people that wrote me LinkedIn recommendations, they need to get out a little more. They obviously they're easily entertained. So thank you, Anastasia, for your very kind introduction. And thank you for asking me to be here. And let me just explain to the audience my crazy Einstein head.
Yes, please.
That years ago, as Anastasia mentioned, I used to be a professional piano player in the New York City area. And back in those days, my hair was 18 inches long. So it was longer than Anastasia's. So recently, my kids saw some pictures of me from years ago, and they said, "Hey, Dad, we dare you to grow your hair back." And I'm the kind of person you don't want to dare me to do something. So what you're seeing right now is you're seeing a couple of months without a haircut. But at some point, I'll probably chicken out. But it's the summer, right? It's the summer. Hang loose, have some fun. It's getting kind of long. It's getting kind of shaggy. But whatever. You used a good word, fun. Adults are just kids with long, hairy legs, and people love to have fun. And I think most people could use a little bit more fun in their life. So thank you for having me. What should we talk about?
Oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about with an amazing, wonderful person like you with amazing Einstein, Mozart-y hair.
I'm going to go with the Mozart. I'm going to go with the Mozart.
I think it's appropriate. I mean, it totally matches. You play piano. We got the Mozart gig going on. Absolutely.
Every Mozart opera on DVD, all 33 of them. Yeah, so I got 33 DVDs. So yes, I love Mozart, but you'll also find me in the mosh pit at the Anthrax and the Slayer concert. Yes.
Oh, Kevin. That is so cool.
Contrast is, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'm a huge fan of the classical as well. Maybe not as far back as Mozart, because I dig synthesizers, but but totally. Well, let's get back to the piano story because I'm really curious about that when it comes to wife. I don't think I've actually heard that story in full form, so it'll be a lot of fun to chat about that later on. But man, we are here today. We have an amazing audience. We already got people popping on the live as well as the Zoom. Like we have a pretty engaged audience today, so this is going to be a lot of fun. We are here to talk about relationship marketing and sales and how we can bring more fun into it, but also what the heck is it, right? So Kevin, could you tell us, you seem to be the master of, relationship marketing and sales, but, we understand what marketing means. We know what relationships means, and we know what sales means, but how do we put all that together? Like, what is that?
I have no idea. I'm just making it all up as I go along. So I'll give you my impression of what that is, but I don't claim to be an oracle or anything like that. What I started noticing years ago is that a communication tool is only as effective as the communication skills of the person using the tool. So if I took my iPhone and I gave it to a dog, the dog wouldn't know what to do with it. It doesn't diminish the value of the iPhone, but a dog doesn't know what to do with a phone. So what social selling is it's sales, but it's leveraging modern communication technology. So it just makes sense that if you have some form of communication technology, you could use it for multiple purposes. So when I got on LinkedIn way back when the earth was cooling in July of 2003, 60 days after it launched, prior to that, I had already been very fortunate to be the top salesperson for 4 separate companies in 4 separate industries, including being the top salesperson in the world for an international consulting company with 350 salespeople in 15 countries. The reason I say that isn't to impress people that I could sell ice cream to Eskimos. It's what I'm saying is I already had a deep understanding of sales and networking and relationship building, so that when a new communication tool, social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, whatever, when the new tool showed up, I already knew the more. Anastasia, have you ever heard of a guy named Mario Andretti?
No.
He's a race car driver, okay?
Okay.
He's a big race car driver. Mario Andretti is a really good driver. So if you give him a Kia, he's going to rock that Kia. But if you give him a Lamborghini, he's going to totally rock the Lamborghini. So it doesn't really have to do with the car. It has to do with his driving skills. Now, if you take somebody who has no idea, who's never driven before, and you give them a Lamborghini or a Kia, they're going to crash both of them because they don't know what to do with a Lamborghini or a Kia. So social selling is taking old school, high touch, interpersonal relationship and sales skills and just kind of blending it with new school, modern communication technology like LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. It's like high tech, high touch. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally. Because I think that's a really good point. High tech, high touch is because we're definitely in the world of high tech. And so we're trying to keep up with high tech. And I think sometimes that really distracts us from what really grows business, which is people and which is relationships. And that's kind of the foundation of a lot of your talks and your content, is just building and conditioning those relationships. So one quote that I love the most from you, and I think because we are in that high tech and we're going so fast, we're trying to be the Lamborghini when really we're the Kia. And so, we're trying to do that, but we're trying to go so fast that sometimes we miss some marks. And I loved the quote that you gave. I think it was the first speech I saw of yours was at a Joe Saba event. You said something along the lines of, you need to slow down to speed up. And please explain what you meant by that comment, because I think it's really important for our audience.
Well, thank you. And I love Joe Saba. He's a good man. And I think he just turned 83 like a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Wow.
But he's a 21-year-old man in an 83-year-old body.
Yeah.
So, and you and I both know we're not our bodies. So, and I can be totally woo-woo, but I can also go Jersey on your butt pretty fast. So it's contrast. So slow down to speed up. Yeah. I talk about that a lot from stage and also with my private coaching clients. I'm kind of a big fan of irony and paradox. I'm kind of a weird, twisted individual. So I like paradox and irony. And I find a lot of times we innocently, as humans, we reverse things by mistake. And if you look around in our society, as you mentioned a few moments ago, everything's going Mach 5 with your hairline on fire. And if you're running as fast as you can, Anastasia, and I'm running as fast as I can, right next to each other, and we're both running at full tilt, and we try to shake hands, even with the best of intentions, we're probably going to trip and fall, because you can't really shake hands at full tilt. Well, I see people doing that all the time in our society. They're not really fully engaged with each other. They have one eye on you and the other eye on their smartphone, and one eye on you and the other eye on their smartphone. And they're trying to carry on 5 conversations at the same time. And they think that the other 4 people don't feel that disconnection. So no matter how much technology advances, and it's only going to continue to advance, the people that really succeed at a high level are the people that create sincere and authentic conversations and relationships with other people. And the only way you can really do that is to slow down. Now, for the type A on steroid people, they don't want to hear that. They're like, we got to go faster, faster, bigger, faster, stronger, whatever. But if they actually do slow down a little bit and then they evaluate their results, they'll start to notice that when they slow down a little bit on the front end, they get where they want to go so much faster on the back end. But my fear is that when I say that, it sounds like a technique or a strategy. That's not what I'm saying. We don't really need a technique or a strategy to care about people. We just care about people. So it's hard to care and to really create relationships when you're running at full tilt. So without going on for 5 hours, the fastest way to get where you want to go is actually to slow down. Because if going Mach 5 got you there, you'd be there already. And you're not there. Not you, Anastasia, but all those other people on, Facebook watching this. So sometimes we miss what's right in front of our face. Kevin, I want to go faster, faster, faster. Well, you're already running at full tilt and you're not really getting anywhere. Let's try the other method. Does that make sense, Anastasia?
Oh, absolutely. And everybody who's on the live or on the Zoom, if you're loving what you're hearing, give us some hearts, give us some likes, some shares, or some kudos. We would love to share that with Kevin. And hey, if any of you have any questions, feel free to put it into the comments on the Facebook Live or in the Zoom. Zoom do get VIP access, so definitely put in your questions in there if you have anything, as Kevin and I have this awesome, amazing conversation, because it's been so great so far. And you make some really good points, is that we are so focused on the results that we are forgetting about the relationships that are going to get us there. And so we are just going, like you said, that Mach 5, trying to shake hands and kiss babies as fast as we can as we get to that finish line that we're all just trying to reach. But I think you make a really good point, and you are walking how you're talking. And that's what I respect so much about you, Kevin, is that you walk how you talk. You have gotten to where you are today by utilizing a lot of the practices that you teach on stage to thousands of people every single year, all over the place. So everybody listening in, if you don't know much about Kevin Knebl, you can just Google him. And are you the only Kevin Knebl on the planet? I'm just kind of curious.
I'm actually not. There's, I think there's 2 other Kevin Knebls. So one of them is, I think, a second or third cousin of mine whom I've never met. And he's in Florida, same exact name, same spelling, even same middle name. Kevin Joseph Knebl. And then I think there's another Kevin Knebl, but everybody misspells my name. Everybody puts an extra E in Knebl. Even I do after a couple Merlots. So, but my last name is 5 letters, Knebl. Could I please buy another vowel? So to my knowledge, there's 3 Kevin Knebls, me being one of them, spelled my way. But if you add an E in various places in Knebl, because there's really 3 or 4 places you can add it, I think there's a lot of other people walking the planet named Kevin Knebl, but they have an extra E in their last name. So, but it's not the most common name. No.
Yeah, for sure. But man, if you guys just look up Kevin Knebl speaker, you're just going to see Kevin all over the place with his Mozart hair.
Just Google me. Googling people in the 80s meant something totally different than Googling them now. So
well, let's talk about that. Let's do a throwback for a second, because you always bring up the idea of this Rolodex, right? Is that, well, first off, what the heck is that? And then moving forward, what is the modern version of the Rolodex, and why should we care?
Well, those are a couple of good questions. I'm finding as the years go by that more and more people in my audience don't even know what a Rolodex is. So I was speaking in Scottsdale, Arizona on Thursday, and at the beginning of my presentation, I was saying that LinkedIn is the world's largest Rolodex. And then I paused and I said, hang on. And I pointed at this girl, young lady, right, that was sitting in the audience that I could tell was probably 21 years old. And I said, what's your name? And she said, my name is Hannah. And I said, Hannah, do you know what a Rolodex is? And she got shy, and she's like, no, I really don't. And I said, okay, hang on. And I went onto Google on my computer on the big screen, and I typed in Rolodex into Google, and I clicked on image. And so for those of you that are younger than my cowboy boots, because I probably have cowboy boots older than some of you on this call, in the old days, prior to Al Gore inventing the internet, we used to have this thing called a Rolodex that was either made of plastic or metal, and you would put your business card on it. And that's how we kept track of people, because there was no internet. There was no internet. There was no iPhone. There was none of this stuff. So we would trade business cards with each other, and that we would keep them in some kind of an organizer or something like that. And it was called a Rolodex. So this kind of goes back to what I was saying 5 or 10 minutes ago, that prior to getting on LinkedIn, I already had a deep understanding and some kind of a system for organizing my contacts, for organizing my touches with the people that I wanted to nurture and deepen relationships with. So that when I first saw LinkedIn in July of 2003, in the first 10 seconds, I opened up LinkedIn. It was only 60 days old. And I immediately said to myself, oh my God, it's a Rolodex. It's an online digital Rolodex. And I said to myself, this is going to be a very powerful tool in business for those people that understand the power of a Rolodex. But if you don't understand the power of a Rolodex, it doesn't matter. Just like if you can't drive, it doesn't matter if we give you a Lamborghini. So there's the high tech, high touch. It always comes back to relationships and networking. And LinkedIn, to answer your second question, LinkedIn is the world's largest Rolodex, 575 million users, 2 to 5 new users per second. It self-updates. So when you moved from Denver to Greeley, you probably put into your LinkedIn profile Greeley instead of Denver. So I didn't have to keep tabs with you. If I just pull up your LinkedIn profile, I'm like, oh, she lives in Greeley now. So I'll say one more thing and then I'll shut up. If you decided tomorrow, you know what, I'm not going to do this kind of work anymore. I'm going to move to Alaska and I'm going to become a salmon fisher woman, fisher person.
Obvious choice.
you would just change your LinkedIn profile to say salmon fisher person, Alaska. And it would all be self-updated for everybody. So I don't have to keep track of where does she live? What's her email address? So it's the world's largest self-updating address book. And it's much more than that. But at its core, that's what it is. Yeah. And if you understand how to use an address book, it becomes a crazy powerful business tool.
Absolutely. And you bring up a lot of good points, but the one I really want to highlight is, I don't know if everybody caught that, is before we had LinkedIn and all these other social media tools, is that there was this thing called the Rolodex, or really just a file format of how you would contact people. So in all reality, Kevin, if we were to get rid of or not utilize LinkedIn, we could still be super crazy successful as long as we know how to condition the relationships that we're building. And but we have these amazing tools like LinkedIn. And so why not utilize them? And that's what I love about you, is that you go on stage and you show how you can create these relationships with people to excel your business or increase your sales. So let's talk a little bit about, increasing your business or sales, utilizing this newfound amazing Rolodex that we are going to call LinkedIn. And what are some simple things or tips that we could take away that when we're going onto LinkedIn and we're like, okay, well, we need to slow down to speed up. How would we do that through something that generally we're like wanting to go super fast on LinkedIn? Like, what are the tips on that?
This is like an 18-hour Zoom, right?
Right? Yes. No.
We'll just get a couple of them pretty quickly.
That'd be great.
So Anastasia, can I embarrass you for a second?
Please.
But first off, love your hair.
Thank you.
Way cooler than mine. Way cooler than mine. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll get some purple in there. So
that's a great idea.
What year were you born?
I was born in 1988.
88. Okay. So when you were a kid, do you remember hearing something like, you only have one chance to make a good first
impression?
There you go. So I was born in 1964, the last 2 weeks of 64. So December 17th. So technically they call it the baby boomers. I was in the last 14 days of the baby boomer generation, which is insane because I kind of got ripped off. I should be Generation X. But, so you and I heard the same thing, even though there's a couple of years between us. So I heard when I was a kid, you only have one chance to make a good first impression. And that's absolutely true. So in the old days, before the internet, we pretty much made first impressions face to face, over the phone, maybe a card in the mail. Then when the internet came in the mid 90s, and then social media in the early 2000s, we're pretty much making first impressions, but not face to face. We're making it through the computer or through our iPhone or through our Android. But the principle that we only have one chance to make a first impression hasn't changed at all. Just like gravity hasn't changed at all in the last couple thousand years. Gravity's gravity. So if we only have one chance to make a good first impression, and we pretty much know that if somebody's thinking about doing business with us or referring business to us or hiring us or something like that, they're probably going to Google us, and they're probably going to type our name into LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook. Wouldn't it make sense to make sure that our LinkedIn profile actually accurately conveys who we are? So the first tip that I would tell you to answer your question is, everybody listening to this right now, you need to make sure that your LinkedIn profile looks good, because you could be the best person in the world at what you do, but if your LinkedIn profile has spelling errors and gaps in your work history and all kinds of things that just don't make you look good, no matter how smart you are and how skilled you are at whatever it is you do, you still only have one chance to make a good first impression. So you need to make sure your LinkedIn profile looks really good. That would be my tip number one. And we could spend an hour just talking about how to do that. Can I give you one more quick tip?
Please.
And I only teach simple things. There's never, there's some people out there that are what I call calculus people. Like they can do 7-digit math in their head. I can barely count like 2 + 2 in my head. Okay. So I'm not stupid, but I'm a very simple guy. And I only speak and coach and train and consult about simple things, because we really don't need to make this very complex. Here's a habit that I would encourage your viewers to adopt starting right now. As you're living your life, online, offline, however you live your life, as people come into your orbit, and sometimes I use funny words. So into your orbit could be somebody you meet somewhere. It could be an email from somebody. It could be all the people that are on this Zoom right now. As people come into your orbit, unless you hate them, unless you really hate their guts, I can think of a whole list of reasons why it would make sense to connect with them on LinkedIn. And not because you're going to try and now, pester them for business or anything like that. It's just that in a more and more interconnected world, you never quite know where your next lead, prospect, client, referral, spouse, whatever, you never quite know where these people are coming from. So it just makes sense to get more connected. It doesn't serve anybody very well to be in the witness relocation program. So I would encourage the people watching this to, when you meet people, whether it's online or offline, just ask yourself a simple question. Do I hate this person? And if you don't, you might want to send them a LinkedIn invitation and just make it real simple. Say something like, knowing that the world is becoming more and more interconnected, and knowing that LinkedIn is effectively the world's largest Rolodex, I'd like to extend my hand in friendship and connect with you here on LinkedIn. Maybe we can create some kind of a mutually beneficial relationship. Have a great day, Anastasia. What a nice, warm, friendly way to start a relationship.
Absolutely. Hope everybody wrote that down. We'll have this on a recording later on. If you guys need to go back and hear exactly what he says, take tips from this guy. He's amazing. He's really been able to not only bring humor to everything, but also to be able to create rapport quickly and make sure that everybody's building a positive impact, a positive relationship with everyone you're wishing to connect with. So thank you, Kevin. That was brilliant. Thank you so much for those tips. So again, everybody who has any questions, put it into the chat. We're getting some props from Tracy. She says, guru, not oracle. And you need a Colorado do-rag. And last but not least, you two are young pups. So thank you, Tracy. We really appreciate you tuning in.
Tracy's a young pup also. I don't think I've been in the same room with Tracy in 5, 6, 7 years, but that's one of the things about social media is you can build these relationships with people, even though you might not be physically in the same room for years and years, if ever. but you can still build a sincere, authentic, heart-centered relationship with people. I love that. I love that. I wish we had this stuff when I was a kid. Back then, we were just, staring at the wall and doing cave drawings, but I feel so happy for the younger people nowadays because they have these incredible communication tools at their fingertips. But that doesn't mean they use them well, but they do have them at their fingertips, so.
Absolutely. It puts a lot of power into your hands and opportunity. And
Well,
I think it's great for that.
If you have one of these things, like a cell phone, every human being that owns one of these, and God only knows how many billions of people own one of these things now, everybody that owns a cell phone is effectively a media company. You really have the ability to communicate with probably 5-6 billion human beings. That's amazing when you think about it. If somebody had told you 20 years ago, oh, by the way, you're going to carry this thing in your pocket and you can type something on it and 6 billion people could potentially read what you wrote, you would have locked that person up. But it's true. And the thing is, we take a lot of things for granted. We really do. We do it innocently. It's not like we wake up in the morning and say to ourselves, what kind of really bad decisions can I make today? Nobody wakes up and says that. But we do kind of take things for granted. And I don't understand how people struggle in business in 2018. We've never had tools at our fingertips to be able to communicate with more people than we do now. We've never had the ability to create a platform or create some kind of a voice if we want to. We've never had the ability to deliver value to more people than we have now. I mean, this is the best time to ever be in business. And I don't care what you do for a living. So
absolutely. Preach it, Kevin.
Sometimes I get ranting, and then I need the wine. So.
Oh, wait, this is pre-Merlot Kevin.
This is
pre-Merlot Kevin. Okay, gotcha.
Just water. Yes.
So maybe let's get a little specific then, because when we're talking about building relationships, and primarily, let's talk a little bit about the sales side, the fun side, right? And we're talking to one of the best salesmen in the world, in my opinion. And so I feel like you're definitely the one to ask this question to. So let's say we have an objective to really build more sales into our business. And we understand now that really conditioning relationships, whether it's through LinkedIn, in person, on the phone, that's very important. Now, how do we basically build that relationship to where it is, and I'm really looking to build my business in this area? I mean, a lot of people have a lot of fear asking for the sale or asking for the referral. So what would your couple tips that you could give to kind of encourage them to be able to take the leap?
Yeah, those are good. You ask good questions, Anastasia. The first thing I would tell people is no matter how sophisticated technology gets, people really don't change. People are people. So I heard a sentence in 1994 that really rocked my world. And it's a really simple sentence, as most of the things that come out of my mouth are. But I heard a man named Bob Burg. Now, your people listening to this, they may or may not have heard of Bob Burg's name before. His last name is spelled B-U-R-G, and Bob wrote what I would consider to be, it's on the shelf behind me here. He wrote what I would consider to be the best book ever written on networking. And by the way, networking is a $5 word for making friends. Mm-hmm. So he wrote a book called Endless Referrals. And I saw him on stage in 1994, and he said these words: all things being equal, people do business with and refer business to people who they know, like, and trust. Now, when I heard that, and a lot of people have heard that, I would imagine that a lot of people listening to my voice right now have probably heard that before, or some version of that. Different things hit people different ways. So most people hear that and they're like, yeah, okay, that's true. But it really shook my world because of my simple mind. So I heard that as two sentences. I heard all things being equal. And I heard all things being equal, meaning you're not a crook. You have a viable product or service that's fairly priced and needed in the marketplace. That's all things being equal. That's all that is. There's many people selling houses. There's many people doing everything. If they're crooks, they're not going to be in business for long. So I heard all things being equal, just means you're a credible human being. It was the second half of the sentence that blew my doors off. It was people do business with and refer business to people who they know, like, and trust. Now, when I heard that in my simple noggin, I went, wait a minute. If that's true, and I can assure everybody hearing my voice that that is as true, if not truer than gravity, okay? And gravity is pretty true. I said to myself, if it's true that people do business with and refer business to people that they know, like, and trust, once I figure out the technical aspect of my profession, whatever that is, lion tamer, janitor, CEO, I don't care what you do. Once you figure out the technical aspect of your chosen profession, shouldn't like 99% of your mental thought processes be put into figuring out how to be more knowable, likable, and trustable? Now, the simplicity of what I'm pointing at right now is ridiculously simple. But as simple as it is, most of us innocently miss this. And then we start trying different strategies and techniques and various things, and we do it innocently, that we think are going to cause people to do business with us. So we think it's SEO, or we think it's more clever marketing copy. And I'm not putting down SEO or marketing copy. There's a time and a place for that. Mm. But I don't care how sophisticated technology gets. All things being equal, people do business with and refer business to people that they know, like, and trust. So part of the answer to your question is this. When I first got into sales in 92, 2 years before I heard Bob Berg make that sentence, I was recommended to pick up a book written by a guy named Dale Carnegie that was written back in 1936. This is the copy of the book that I bought in October of 1992. So it's highlighted, it's written in the margins, it's underlined. I have never stood on stage anywhere on earth, and I stand on a lot of stages. I have never stood on stage anywhere on earth, and I have not held this up in the first 5 minutes. Because I tell the audience, I could teach you everything you want to know about social media. I could teach you how to smell colors with LinkedIn. I could teach you how to realign the planets with Facebook. But none of that really matters, because if you were Hannibal Lecter before you got on LinkedIn, now you're just Hannibal Lecter on LinkedIn, you know? So this is really a book about how to get along with people. Sometimes people read the title and they think it's about manipulation. It's not about manipulation. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Actually, I think he gave it the wrong title. It should just be called How to Get Along with Humans. So when I got into sales, I didn't read that, I studied it. And I ended up becoming, like I said, the top salesperson for all these different companies. And my business now and for the last 10 years has always been 99% by invitation and referral only. I don't do any marketing. I don't do any advertising. I just create. You're using the word condition. I say it a little bit differently. I say create, nurture, and deepen relationships. You summarized it in one word, condition, which I kind of like that. But all I do, if you said to me, Kevin, what's your business model? My business model is I slow down and I sincerely and authentically connect with human beings. Some of them become clients, some of them become friends, some of them don't like me, you know, whatever, who cares? So, but I just connect with people, and whatever should happen kind of reveals itself. I don't do clever ninja sales maneuvers. I don't have clever closing lines. The reason why I've never really struggled that hard to close sales is because I really focus on opening relationships. I don't worry about closing sales. I focus on opening relationships. So your question was, you know, what do you say to the people who are a little nervous about asking for the sale or something like that? Do you mind if I say something kind of weird, Anastasia?
I love that.
Have you ever had a boyfriend?
I've had a few.
Okay. So when you got a boyfriend, did he come with a flow chart?
Oh God, no.
Like, here's when, you know, you give him his first kiss, and here's where when you let him walk you home, and here's what, you know, he didn't come with a flow chart. So at first you're a little awkward because it's all new, right? But you date a couple guys, or, you know, and you start to kind of get the gist of how it works. And you start to not need a flow chart. And when you start to relax in the moment. You know, I often ask my audiences, how do you know when to kiss her for the first time? And the answer really is, you just know. It just feels right. So it's the same way in business. Kevin, what's the closing line I should use? The fact that you're asking me for a clever closing line is an indication that you don't understand that it's really about a connection with the other person. So the more we relax and become comfortable with who we are and the value that we actually deliver, and I certainly don't mean that in a cocky or arrogant way, the more we just relax into the moment. And we know when I'm in a sales process with someone, if I'm asking myself, is this the right time to close the sale? And I really actually never really think that way. If I second guess myself and I say, should we talk about the money yet? I listen for a feeling. Now that's a weird use of language, listen for a feeling. But I listen internally to me for a feeling. And if it feels like the right time, then I do it. And if it doesn't feel like the right time, I just don't. So I don't know that I'm really answering your question in a great way. I just find that when people relax, the way reveals itself. It just naturally shows up.
Mm.
What did you hear in that?
I heard a lot of things. I heard
other than the kissing flowchart.
Good point, though. Glamour magazine and all those other things, they like to give you the flowchart, right? But in all reality, it's all about the feeling. And I think that's really great, listening for the feeling. And I really want to highlight that, because when we're in business and we're trying to create some sort of movement or impact or just help other people's lives, it's really all about making that connection, as you mentioned, but listening for the feeling. And I don't think we're in our bodies enough. I think we really get into our heads and we're just like, okay, is now the time to ask for money, or what should I be doing next? Should I follow up in a couple days? And it's just like, build the relationship and feel if this is something you should explore more in working together, or something that maybe we should just pause here and move on. And, we don't feel where the relationship's going. We try to analyze and process it, and we tend to get into that cycle, and then we get into the worry and fears and all those things. So I love how you brought all that together, Kevin. And I loved how you talk about relax into it, because, and I think, I don't remember who originally said this, but you hear it all the time, is when you're feeling so stressed about the money, that's when you compromise a lot of relationships. But if you're focusing on the relationships and relaxed with that relationship, the money tends to come. And so I love how that balance really, really played out. We have a question here. We're kind of backpedaling a little bit, but I think it's a good segue into my next question. So we have Tracy on here asking, we're going back to the cell phone with kids and checking out the phone and everything. And she's asking, communication skills are at these people's fingertips, but how do we teach them to communicate effectively and not be lost in the phone? Ta-da! Job done.
There it is. I mean, I can go on for the next 2 hours, but I'll just hold it up. It always comes back. What I started noticing a long time ago, Anastasia and Tracy, I started noticing that almost all the questions that people ask about social media actually aren't social media questions. They're interpersonal questions. They're relationship questions. They're conversation questions. So I often tell my audiences, for every minute that you're studying, LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or whatever, spend 5 minutes going back to this. Do a minute social media, do 5 minutes on this, because it just makes sense. I could study all day long how the electronics inside my phone work. That is not going to improve my conversation skills one tiny bit. But people innocently fall into this trap all the time. They think, I need to become a Facebook expert, or I need to become a LinkedIn expert. No, you don't. Everybody listening to me right now probably knows how to drive a car. But there's probably a very, very, very small percentage, if anyone, listening to my voice right now who knows how to fix a transmission. So you don't have to be a transmission expert to drive a car. You just have to be able to put a key in, turn it, and put it in gear and go. And it's the same thing with social media. So Tracy, it's about encouraging people to study communication skills, not communication tools, right? Just because I study a hammer doesn't make me a great carpenter. So I hope at some level, maybe that answers the question, Tracy.
I think it did. She says she loves the book that you were holding up by Dale Carnegie, and I guess I need to buy some as gifts.
Good idea. Yeah, and it comes on audiobook, and you can download it and all that kind of stuff too. Yeah.
There you go. It's awesome. She also says that she sees kids my age with their faces buried in the phone instead of talking to the person right in front of them. I'd love to invite you, Tracy, to sometime go to 16th Street Mall. It sounds like you're in Colorado. It's downtown Denver, for those of you watching. If you go down to any street where there's going to be outdoor seating areas on a beautiful day in the summer, I'd love for you to go at lunchtime on a Monday or a Tuesday and just see who is sitting at the tables and who is really talking to who, because so many times I've walked down and I see the Cheesecake Factory, you know what I'm talking about, and there's these chairs outside and there's all these executives in their suits sitting there, and what are they doing? They're on their phones, just maybe they're emailing each other talking about the coworker next door, who knows? But it's starting to catch on to all sorts of generations. It's really a part of our life, is just having technology available to us. But I love how you're rounding this out, Kevin. It's all about communication skills and how do we connect to the human race and not focus so much on the tools or how to get there. It's all about the relationships. So I love that.
I think it's human nature that we tend to push the envelope in different areas before we come back to sanity. It's normal. It's just the way we're wired. So there are people out there that will build automobiles that can drive 250 miles an hour just to prove that it can be done. But nobody's going down the highway at 250 miles an hour. At a certain point, people come back to, okay, it's great that we can build a car that goes 250, but let's just kind of focus on like 50 to 80, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of these technologies, when you really think about it, they're only 10 or 15 years old. And in the big scheme of things, that's not that old. So it's very easy for a person, regardless of age, to get addicted to their cell phone. So whether it's an older person or a younger person, because I made that quick comment earlier when I said we're not our bodies, right? So I was getting a little woo-woo for a second. But, I like hanging around with really old people and really little kids. I find there's a lot of similarities between really old people and little kids, and it's not just the diapers. And what I find is, did he say that out loud today? Did he really say that? So what I find is that if you sit down with somebody who's 85 or 90 years old and you ask them, how old do you feel inside? A lot of times they'll say, I feel 25 or 30 or 40. They don't feel 80 or 90 most of the time. So it's not odd to find people in their 50s and 60s and 40s and 30s addicted to their cell phones, just like the kids that are 15 years old. Because we're all just, adults are just kids with long, hairy legs. But at a certain point, I think we kind of snap back to reality. And it could take years, but at a certain point, we just kind of go like, wait a minute. I'm walking into fountains in the mall staring at my phone. Maybe it's time to put the phone down. So I think that some of the tools that humans invent dehumanize people in some way, and it's kind of fun to go back and rehumanize people. I like to start a lot of relationships online and then move them offline as fast as I can. Get it to a phone call, get it to a cup of coffee, if you can, but get it out of Facebook or LinkedIn, get it face to face. Even what we're doing now, this is great because I can see you and you can see me. So even though we're not like physically in the same room, this is better than us doing Facebook chat. Mm-hmm. This is better than us sending tweets back and forth. And there's nothing wrong with Facebook chat and tweets, but I can look at you right now and I can see your eye contact. I can see your body language. I can see your cool hair. I can see those lips in the picture of Audrey Hepburn in the corner up next to you. So there's something about the human connection eye to eye. So yeah, get offline as fast as you can, get face to face, even if it's Skype or GoToMeeting or Zoom or whatever it is. That's better than just shooting texts back and forth.
Yes. And I actually kind of want to bring up a little frustration that I think we're all have dealt with. And I think it may have um, influenced a lot of how we kind of look about being a customer and also how we want to treat other customers. Have you ever tried to call your internet provider or your phone provider and actually got a human being after an hour of waiting? Probably not. It's just like this idea of, okay, we want to service as many customers as possible. And so we have to create robots and this and that. And, it's just like, whoa, you can create so much more impact and you can deliver so much more amazing benefits in people's lives that will thank you for your service by connecting more at a deeper level. I know like maybe like 99.9%, maybe some introverts around here, but 99.9% of people want to have somebody on the phone or in person if they're walking to a store to be able to have some sort of human connection, to be relatable. They want to be understood. And I love how you like explain all of that, Kevin. I think it's amazing. But I really want to bring on a little piece before we end our show today. Oh, go ahead.
Can I say one thing real quick?
Yes, please.
What you just said, which was brilliant, was another way of saying slow down to speed up.
Exactly.
That when we connect with people, the illusion is it's going to slow down business. But in reality, if you actually picked up the phone and called somebody at customer service and they sincerely and authentically listened to you, they'd go raving about your business to all of their friends. So the irony is actually slowing down will get you to your business goals faster than just, I got to automate all this stuff because I need more customers faster. Mm-hmm. It's a huge paradox. Yeah. So sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's a good word, paradox. I need to start using that more. It's a good one. Thank you. But yeah, let's transition a little bit into this idea of growth. So the idea of the phone company or the internet company, we're growing. That means we need to have more support. That means we need to have more human bodies, hopefully more than robot bodies. But now we're bringing on new people that are probably going to be servicing customers, and that might be sales, right? So what would you suggest for a growing startup that's just about to bring on a sales team, some support to help provide more interaction to their customers? Would you suggest Dale Carnegie Reed and training, or what would you suggest that these founders do?
I would suggest that they never forget that it's all about it. I would suggest that they write in stone everywhere, all things being equal, people do business with and refer business to people who they know, like, and trust. I'm a really simple man. That sentence, all things being equal, people do business with and refer business to people who they know, like, and trust. That is my true north. That is the compass. That is north on my compass. The only time when I get screwed up is when I forget that sentence. Because when I remember that sentence, I will then do the things that would be evidence that I understand the sentence. So we innocently forget. I made the comment earlier that nobody woke up this morning and said to themselves, what kind of really stupid decisions could I make today? Nobody woke up and said that. But we all make stupid, innocent decisions. It happens, part of being human, because we forget. So I've noticed over the years that a lot of people come to me for coaching or consulting or whatever. And usually they've innocently forgotten, or they've never really understood the truth of the statement, all things being equal, people do business with and refer business to people who they know, like, and trust. So if a company were to adopt that mentality, because I don't even want to call it a philosophy, because it's not a philosophy. Gravity is not a philosophy. Gravity is gravity. If I drop this, it's going down, right? So gravity is not a philosophy. Gravity is a principle. And the reason it's a principle is because principles don't change. Well, I don't care how sophisticated a company is. I don't care how cool their technology is. The moment they forget, and we all forget it innocently, the moment they forget that all things being equal, people do business with and refer business to people who they know, like, and trust, that's when problems are going to start to come. So your question was, if a company's looking to scale or grow, and they're a startup, I would just encourage them to go back to the basics. Just go back to, Vince Lombardi was a football coach, and he had people that played football with, they've been playing football their entire lives. And every year on the first day of the football season, he would have these guys in the locker room who had been playing football since they were 5. They know how to play football. And every year on the first day of the season, he would stand in the locker room, and this is absolutely true. And he would stand in front of those players and he would say, gentlemen, this is a football. And like they didn't know what a football was, right? And he would take them back to the basics: blocking, tackling, how to throw, how to catch. And that's really what I do. I just basically run around the world and I remind people, I don't care what business you're in. I don't care where in the country geographically you are. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how young you are. I don't care if you're black, white, green, follically challenged, Mozart head. I don't care. All things being equal, people do business with and refer business to people who they know, like, and trust. The more we deepen our understanding of that, the more evidence will naturally appear that we really believe that. Because people talk a good game, they're full of crap. So just, if you want to find out what somebody believes, just watch what they do. Don't listen to what they say. We're really good at talking. Just watch what they do. And when a person really understands that all things being equal, people do business with and refer business to people that they know, like, and trust, there will be evidence that they live that in their life. So I feel like I just gave you a sermon. Sorry about that.
Woo! I'm blown away. That was awesome. Thank you, Kevin. So we are going to wrap up our interview here in just a couple seconds. We have Felicia Jones popping on saying, hey, Kevin. Hey, Anastasia. Hey, Felicia. We've had a lot of...
She's just up the road to Castle Rock.
Yeah. Yes, she is. She rocks the Castle Rock.
Unless she's in London or some of the other places she's speaking now.
She's just moving all over the place. That go-getter. Tracy did pop in and she said, paradigm is a good word too. Yes, Tracy, that is a good word. Thank you for chiming in. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And man, we had the amazing Kevin Knebl here. So give us some hearts, give us some likes. Let us know if you enjoyed this interview. I'm sure you did. I know I did too. He's a lot of fun. Kevin, I know that so many people in here are going to want to get connected with you and learn and follow you and hear what else you have to say to remind us to build relationships, slow down so that we can speed up. So how can people get connected with you more?
I have no idea. I'm in the witness relocation program. I'm talking to you from a bunker somewhere in an undisclosed location. So no, I am definitely not in the witness relocation program anymore. So if they type my name into Google, Knebl is 5 letters, Knebl. I'm on all the normal socials: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. Unfortunately, Facebook has this weird 5,000 friend rule. So if people want to click the follow button, they can follow me, even though I can still consider them friends. It's just semantics. People can certainly send me a LinkedIn invitation and I'll connect with them on LinkedIn. If they follow me on Twitter, I'll follow them back on Twitter. I'm always a phone call or an email away. My number's everywhere. I have one phone and I have one phone number, and that's what it is. And I give it out on stage all around the world, and people can pick up the phone and call me. They can go to my website, subscribe to my free weekly newsletter, which is not the thinly veiled sales pitch. It has content that will help people in their lives. So I'm easy to find. And if anybody wants to ever have a conversation, that's the business I'm in. I'm in the conversation and relationship business. That's what I do. So thank you for asking, Anastasia. I appreciate it.
Of course. And thank you so much for being on our humble little show here. We may not be the main stage over in Hong Kong or England, but we love you regardless. And we're so glad that you're here. And man, we're just so excited to see you help and create more impact in the world. So thank you for helping us to have those pieces that you bring to the world so that we can create more impact on the world in our own little areas. So thank you so much, Kevin. Really appreciate it.
And thanks for what you're doing, Anastasia. You're a blessing in the world. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, everybody. Well, this finishes up Entrennial Talks on relationship marketing and sales. Be sure to share this with anybody that you know could use this content. Maybe that, sleazy car salesman that you just interacted with the other weekend. Send them the video. Might help them out. You never know. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a beautiful evening. And this is Kevin Knebl and Anastasia Button from Entrennial Talks. Bye.